This is Brian with Redefined-Life. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created males and he created females. And he called it good. So how in the world do we have this gender issue today? This weird social construct that biological males can think that they're females and that biological males can compete in female sports and biological females can compete in male sports. It's utterly ridiculous. It's biologically, we have an XX or an XY chromosome. We've got parents that aren't putting their baby's sex on birth certificates. They're allowing them to fill this in at a different time. Society is allowing young children to decide that they're an opposite sex and let's just give them some drugs and let's just chop off some stuff and we'll make it happen. And that's just utterly ridiculous. And as Christians, we need to be extremely aware of this. And for those that have, kids in school systems and stuff like that, we need to be vocal on it. This society is pushing us in a direction that is anti-biblical for one thing, but it's appeasing this counterculture that's out there. Pulled up this article, and there was another article. I'll get back to that article. So the article that was a couple weeks ago was about a female volleyball coach that decided that their team was going to forfeit. And because the other team had a biological male on it, was this huge, unfair advantage. So they stood on biblical principles and they got a lot of flack from this. But I did a shout out to them because what they did and they stood on their belief systems, I wanted to give them praise and acknowledgement to that. Because a lot of times when somebody stands up for what is right, the world is going to come after them. And if we don't support people that stand on biblical beliefs and make a stand for something, we need to encourage those. So this article that I'm going to read to you real quick, and it's about these 5 women's volleyball teams. They forfeited in protest of male athlete on San Jose State. So I'm not going to get into the article. I just wanted to show you that headline there. But here's some more females that are stepping up and they're saying, hey, look, we're not going to, continue to have, males and have this unfair advantage against us. In culture, and we've gotten this counterculture today, we've gotten it all confused because for some reason, not that men and women can't reverse roles and do different jobs. I mean, women can do a lot of things that men can do and men can do a lot of things that women can do. That's not the issue. The issue is what were really God's purpose for man and female. In the beginning, God had males and they were the hunters and the gatherers. They protected, their families. And then the women were more of the nurturing type. They were more emotional based, that they took care of the young and raising the young. Now, it's not nothing that men can't do that and women can't do that. It's just that God's design from the beginning, there was males and females and we had different roles. And when we start looking at these men or women that get into opposite sexes sports, it puts them at an unfair advantage. We've seen another example of this with the Olympics where the biological male was in the boxing with that lady and beat the tar out of her. And it was sad to see, and it's what we're having to deal with now. There was a guy in Canada. It was a weightlifting match or competition they had up there. And then in Canada, the rules are that as long as you identify as whoever you identify as, you can compete in that sport. So he went in and it wasn't right. And I feel bad because, students and athletes, they compete at high school level and they try to get scholarships into the college. And when you have somebody that has an unfair advantage, that's breaking those records of those females and taking away those opportunities that those females would have had because you're bringing in somebody that is a biological male. And it could reverse, but I'm not getting into that. But back to the Canada thing, so he's this big built guy and he gets in this competition and he blows all the records. So he holds all the records now. And it was sad because the women there, they really couldn't say anything, because these are the rules, And there was another lady there, it was actually a dude, that wanted to be a lady, and he had some of the records in there, not all of them, but some. And he said that even the males would have a advantage over the females in weightlifting here. It was interesting that somebody in that culture, that mindset, that philosophy, that they actually even admitted that males have a better advantage in weightlifting on it. But this society has gotten crazy. Now, some people will argue that there's this gender dysphoria. And the simple of it is I'm a person and I can't decide. I think maybe I'm a male, maybe I think I'm a female, I don't know. And they struggle with this. And they can't, figure out what they are. We'll leave that whole issue. I want to come at the perspective of is we want to go against God's design in us and live a lifestyle. Say if we decide that we're the opposite sex, we want to engage in a same-sex marriage, things that are clearly biblically wrong. What I want to get into as Christians, though, one of the questions that came up, which is an interesting question, can a transgender Christian be saved? Now, you might think, oh my gosh, that there ain't no way. Well, I want to clarify some things and bring some stuff to light and let you think about it. I had a friend, he was a singer in one of my bands. He had pitch perfect singing ability. And I asked him one time, and I said, so, why are you gay? And he was cool about it, and he says, when you look at a woman, how do you feel? And I said, well, I like when I look at a woman. And he said, well, what happens when you look at a man? I said, that's just disgusting. And he said, it's the same way for me. And that kind of stood with me. And I don't know if he's got a mental disorder. I don't know. You can throw a lot of speculation out there on why people are gay. So I'm not going to get into that because I don't know. And that's not the point of where I'm going with this is. But he had an issue. Now, he wasn't a Christian, but I want to tailor this to the transgender because if a person is a Christian, and it doesn't matter what your sin is, if you are engaging in a lifestyle of sin and you do not have no conviction of the Holy Spirit, you think that it's right, you feel, that you're doing what you should be doing, but when you're engaging in it, you're embracing it, you're conducting a whole lifestyle around sin, and there's no conviction on that, I hope people, if you're listening to this and you're in that situation, please examine yourself. Because it's, the road to heaven is narrow and the road to hell is wide. Kind of scares me in a sense is, when they get up to heaven and there's going to be people that say, Lord, Lord, didn't I do this for you? And Lord, Lord, I prophesied in your name. And Lord, Lord, I did this. And Jesus says, I never knew you. Depart. That is scary. Because a lot of Christians even deal with whether or not they're saved or not. And they struggle with that aspect of it. But if you're in a lifestyle and it is you, it's your lifestyle, you've embraced it, and you don't have that conviction of sin, then we need to take a look at that because are we really saved? It's a scary thought, really, that we could be doing something and think we're right, and unless we have somebody maybe come up beside us as a Christian brother or sister and say, hey man, what you're doing might be wrong, and gives us a second to reevaluate, maybe what we're doing and the lifestyle that we're in. But I wanted to bring this up because we're seeing more and more of this in our culture, and it's getting everywhere. And I feel bad for females that are in sports that men come in and dominate. And I wanted to shout out to this particular the 5 volleyball coaches here, or whatever they were, the 5 women's volleyball teams that they forfeited here, because they are standing up against something that is wrong. And they need the support from people like-minded to say, hey, look, this is going to be tough. You may lose your record. You may lose this. As Christians, we are going to suffer. And there is a cost to being a Christian. The unbelieving world attacks us. The Satan attacks us. Even our fellow Christians attack us sometimes. It's rough out there. And when you stand in this culture up for something that's biblically right, the world, the news, the media, they're going to come after you. And I wanted to give that encouragement out for them. It's just something to think about when you see people maybe that that they're in this lifestyle that just, it doesn't align biblically. They're making choices that's not a biblical choice. And they may be saved, and maybe they just need a gentle, somebody to come alongside and put their arm around them and say, come on, bud. Come on, sister. We're going we're going to get back on track. Because it's easy to get, where we justify things so much that it becomes natural to us. It becomes okay. And then our hearts get hardened. And that little step takes to another little step, which takes to another little step. And by the time that we're off the road. So I just want to encourage people that if you know somebody out there that is struggling or something, we just lift them up, can pray for them, and be some support for them.